was time to hit the road, leaving the house that the babe built back in 27 or so. I'm on my way to Fenway, then Baltimore for a few. Baby, you can catch me at all 162.
Morning world, how you doing today? We are live in San Diego, California, coming to you from the 162 Experience. Let me tell you, I am excited today. We have some rock stars with us this morning from the business world in their industry, the network marketing industry, personal development. We have some big time guys here today. Steve, how excited are you today for this show?
I'm excited for your intro, Benito. I know you've been working on that all week. He's in the bathroom going, the 162 Experience, and I think he got it down. So way to go.
Getting there, yeah.
Hey guys, let's review what's happened so far. We're on episode 4. Episode 3 was amazing/catastrophe. It was fun, but the sound quality wasn't great. We are still going to post it. Hard to hear, but amazing amount of fun. It was live. We were outside of Petco. A lot of music, a lot of people.
It was rocking.
It was a lot of fun. I think I have 3 dates next week as a result of that. Just kidding. I only have 2.
And you got the direct number of one of the girls. That was awesome.
It was. And let's talk about what's coming up, Benito. This week we're excited. We have just a good friend of mine, a gentleman I've known, I believe, 16, 17 years. Chris Hughes is in the house with us today. Chris, say a quick hello.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be here.
All right.
I'm looking forward to having a good day. Good time.
Thanks for being. Chris actually slept over what we call the mansion last night here in La Jolla.
Yes, I did.
And it's the first time we've had a guest sleepover. Hopefully it's not our last, Benito. And we are going to have a gentleman next week that played for the San Diego Chargers for 6 years, 6 seasons. Also the New York Giants. I believe he played for the New York Giants as well. Yes, he went to Purdue and has actually replaced my brother Mike as an offensive lineman in high school. It was the last snap my brother Mike ever saw. He replaced him because he was about 150 pounds heavier than him.
That's going to be an interesting story.
Really?
We got Mike Milley in the studio today. Mike, you want to say a quick hello to our listeners of the 162 Experience?
Hey, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me here today. I'm looking forward to hearing Mr. Chris Hughes, also a long-term friend of my own.
Absolutely. And, Mike, let's hear your laugh and then compare it to my laugh so people can know the difference during the show. You laugh first. Okay, that was Mike Milley. Now I'll go. Let's do it one more time. Uh-oh. Okay, that's good. That's fun. And so next week we're going to have Ralph Perretta in the house, played for the San Diego Chargers. We're excited about that. And then week 6, episode 6, we're going to have Mikkel Mecki, wrote a book called Running with the Finishers. Excited about that. And of course we had Kim Melia. If you haven't listened to episode 1, go back and listen to that. It's hot. And we had Chris Bedgood, although he likes to be called Chris Bedgod, we found out. Or Chris Bed Great, either one. I call him Chris Bed So-So, not from personal experience, Benito. And also his running mate, Chief Denny, episode 2. Those guys are the guys from Flipping San Diego. So we're getting more powerful guests every week. If you know somebody that's famous, if you know somebody that's got a story to tell, if you know somebody that's got some cash that they're willing to part with, then we'll have them on a future episode of 162. Hey, Benito, we got a lot going on in the world of sports.
We do. We have a lot of baseball talk, a lot of basketball talk. Well, I want to talk about one thing that's going on right now, MLB action. We have the Baltimore Orioles in the AL East.
Ooh.
Yeah, right. It's like I don't want to be so excited about it because I'm sitting around some Yankees fans right now. But we got to talk about it. They are 7-0 going with a perfect season into week 2. It's kind of an amazing thing. You would think who's going to give them the first defeat?
Well, we'll see. It probably won't be the Yankees because we don't play them for a couple of weeks, but we'll see.
Yeah, they are on fire. Also, I want to say, I've been watching the Nationals out east, too. Bryce Harper, he's on fire. Just a couple of these guys are just rolling. It's amazing.
How about the guy in Colorado?
Story. This guy, what was his stats? It was first 6 games he had...
7.
7? He had...
No, 6 games he had 7 home runs.
Yeah, yes. 6 games, 7 home runs. Unbelievable story. Rookie season. Wow. Just guy dominating the stat line.
But tonight we got a big game. Record breaker.
2 big games coming out of California. We have Kobe's farewell tour. Kobe Bryant has played 20 seasons. Same team. Everybody knows about this. Also the Golden State Warriors, Memphis Grizzlies playing up in Oakland. Now the interesting thing about this whole thing, both games are going to be played at 7:30 Pacific time. they have no playoff implications at all, any one of these teams. The Warriors are already in. Kobe, we know how that series is going that whole season. I think they've won 16 games, I believe. But the interesting thing is what is going on, the ticket prices for these games. Tonight, we have in Staples Center for Kobe's last game, home game, just to get in the building, $750.
Oh my gosh.
$750 for just a ticket. Wow. Now, also, if you look at courtside tickets, I saw on the news one dude paid for 2 tickets, but it was one per price per ticket, $27,500 courtside.
And he bought 2.
And he bought 2, so that was.
You must really like your friend.
Woo! Yeah, this dude. I mean, that's just.
I wouldn't need a date for that one. I'd be like, I'm going to go solo.
Right, ridiculous prices on these tickets.
You can go to the Summer Olympics. Because I'm going to the Summer Olympics, and my company, many of you know, I work with a company called Legal Shield, one of the top direct selling companies in the world, and they're taking us, some of the top people, to Rio, and I just happen to know the price tag per person, and it's about that. It's over $25,000 per person.
And that's for not even 3 hours. That's going to be for a week or so, right?
Yeah, and these are athletes on top of their game, unlike Kobe.
Amazing. The Warriors ticket price for the exact same time is about half the same price. So it's but the thing with the Warriors game, what's happening is they're going to beat or trying to go after the Bulls 96 record with the go for 73 wins. So they're trying to beat an NBA record. Now, my question to you is, we have ticket prices at $750 and one at $330. What would you rather see? All you guys out there, let's say, would you rather see Steph Curry go for the record for the NBA? And another interesting stat is who is coaching the Warriors. Steve Kerr was part of that Bulls team in 96. He's looking at, well, should we beat the record or should I beat it as a coach? What would you rather see, Kobe or the Warriors up there?
Well, those are some interesting questions. I would probably go for Kobe myself, just because I think the Warrior thing is a done deal and they're going to win it and stuff like that. But I don't think Steve Kerr is laying in bed at night going, do I break my own record? How do I deal with this? I think he's very confident he'll go in and win tonight.
I think they're going to dominate the Grizzlies tonight.
Cool. A lot of people listening to the show might be, what the heck is this show about? Is this show about sports or is it about business? What am I listening to? I'll tell you what it's about. It's a show about success in business, sports, and life. And I think we pretty much cover every topic there, so we can talk about whatever we want.
Yeah, we can talk about everything. We have, in the last couple of episodes, I remember in the opening day episode, we had the guys from Flipping San Diego. They were big-time real estate investors, and we had a lot of questions from people who wanted to get either started in that game, and they were able to bring some value to our audience and answer any questions they had. And it was just a great show. I think those guys are just phenomenal guests, you know.
And we figured it out. Over the next 10 years, we're going to produce 500 shows. And it's just going to be like a catalog of personal achievement folks, people that have succeeded in sports, business, or life. Our goal is to have David Wells on. I had a dream last night that we'll have President Obama on our show. Isn't that pretty cool? Why are you laughing at me?
I'm not laughing.
No, you're laughing at my goals. And
that's a good one.
You know what? That means they're big enough. That means they're big enough.
That's right.
And we're gonna do a show live on the moon. I'm not sure what the date's gonna be, but we're gonna fly to the moon. We're gonna chip in. We're gonna start a GoFundMe, and we're gonna do a show live from the moon. No one's ever done a podcast on the moon.
I think Richard Branson's going to sponsor that one. We're going to get his commercial flight to the moon. Yeah.
All right. Benito, let's do our sponsors, and let's get to our guest, Chris Hughes. Just want to do a shout-out to our first sponsor, Legal Shield. Many people I know. I've been a member of Legal Shield for almost 18 years, used the membership hundreds of times. One of my favorite stories, though, is the time I came back from a business trip, and there was a brand new speed bump in my neighborhood, and at the time I drove a little Ford Mustang, and every time I'd go over this speed bump, it was too big. It was so big that we were coming up with nicknames for it. We called it Speed Mountain, was, I think, the funniest one I came up with. And I would scratch my car every time I went over it. I was frustrated like many people are, and I called the president of the Homeowners Association. She was rude, right? We had met before, and she said, it's made of cement, referring to the speed bump. It's permanent. Nothing you could do about it. I said final answer. She said, yes, it is. My next phone call was to my provider attorney with Legal Shield, who, by the way, the company compensates them about $1 million per month in North Carolina. They wrote one letter, and maybe the coolest thing I ever saw was a team of 5 guys in welding masks about a week later shaving down this speed bump. And she was actually out there with the crew, and I rolled down my window, and I was like, strong, and I just drove away. And she threw an egg at my house later in the week, I think. I'm not sure. But anyway, that's Legal Shield. If you ever want to have affordable access to the legal system and not pay through the nose, call Legal Shield.
I like that story. That was an interesting one. Hey, a second sponsor, we got Sports eShop. What that is, one of my buddies he started this company, and we go around the nation taking sports fans to their ultimate fan experience, whether it's huge stadiums, Yankee Stadium, Wrigley Field, football games, whatever it is in the NFL. If you want to have your favorite experience, we can bring any group you want to. We can take them around the country, experience anything they love, anything they want, and have this ultimate tailgate party, ultimate fan experience. If you want to go on any one of these experiences, just let us know. Hit us up, Facebook, whatever you want to do, and we'll get you a spot on that fan experience.
Yeah. Are you ready, Benito?
We're ready. We're going to bring some rock stars on the show right now.
You know, one of the very first things that we want to do is have people on the show that matter, people who inspire millions, and this guy certainly does that. And if you've ever seen him speak, if you've heard his audio tapes, and I know he'll give out his information on how you can become familiar with him if you're not, I think people would define him as polished, distinguished, somebody that has his act together, but they certainly, when he tells his story, wouldn't picture him as somebody that really started in the ghetto. So straight from the ghetto, let's go to Chris Hughes. Chris, tell us what your life was like the day you turned your life around.
Hey, thanks, Steve. Glad to be here. And I can tell you that, yes, I literally did live in the ghetto. And, I didn't make all the greatest decisions in my life early on. I was in high school for 6 years. I had 3 senior years, which is redonkulous, and I went on to college like good boys do. And I was 5 years in college was enough for me. And at that time, I dropped out as a sophomore, so as far as I got.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
3 years in as a senior?
Yeah, as a senior.
So how does that work? Did you fail out? Did you miss so many days? Did you get arrested? What happened?
All of the above, yeah. All of the above. No, I dropped out several times. I drop out to save my GPA. At least I think that's how I understood it. It's like, well, I'm getting all zeros.
Is that like on an SAT where you don't answer questions to see that your score will go up?
It's like, so I dropped out, and then when the semester started new, I re-enrolled, so all those zeros fell off I don't know.
Wow.
Sounded good at the time.
Powerful.
So yeah, I was, I never got a college education, so I was waiting tables at a restaurant. I was making $200 a week, waiting tables at Chili's, and I was in this neighborhood, had drive-by shootings and break-ins and all the rest. And so one day I woke up and I just decided I want to live like that. This is America. Like, you don't need a college education. You need an education. Maybe we'll talk about that today, but you don't need a degree.
And so tell us about what changed. What happened?
Well, a couple things. I watched a shootout in my front yard. So, that makes you rethink your associations, like where you're living and the choices that you're making. One day I walked into the restaurant, to clock in, regular shift, and I see the bartender, and she's almost 60 years old. She'd been working in a restaurant since she was a girl, since she was 18. And I said hi to her, and she said hi to me. And I walked around the corner, and I hear this voice in my head that says, "That's you if you don't change." That's you, 60 years old, working in a restaurant if you don't make a change. And so I just, that was a time in my life where I began to be open. I wasn't satisfied with what life was giving me, and I decided I need to give life a little bit of something.
Benito, I know you had some questions for Chris.
Yeah, I did. Chris, one thing I'm hearing your story, and I'm wondering, was that at the time when you were working at the restaurant, and all of a sudden you decided to search for answers? Did you quit that day? Did you go right into saying, hey, like after work you get off, study for a couple hours or search for something? Like, how did that transition take place?
Well, it started with the dissatisfaction, right? I mean, you lay in bed at night and it's like, is this my life really? Like, I got to live like this until I'm 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years old. And that idea was so repugnant to me. I was restless, right? I was just so restless. And so I ended up quitting that job. I went to work for an ice company. I worked there until my car blew up, and then I had to go find another job because it was a route. I had to run this route. And so I took a job at a personal development company, and I was terrible. I did inside sales. Basically what it was is we sold it was a season ticket for motivational speakers. So every 6 weeks there would be a networking group with hors d'oeuvres, and all the business people in town would come in and network and swap business cards. And then after that there'd be a 1 or 2 hour seminar by Jim Rohn, Les Brown, Jack Canfield, Tony Robbins, Mark Victor Hansen, Ido Cobain. And I had no idea who these guys were. I was like, really? You want me to go to a seminar? Like, really? And so I worked there. I was terrible. I never sold anything, and I was afraid they were going to fire me. One day the owner of the company, his name's Curtis Rasmussen, he goes, Chris, let's take a walk. We went in the parking lot, and I go, here we go. I'm 27 years old. I've had 27 jobs. I've never been fired. So I was pretty proud about that. And I go, I'm going to get fired for the first time. And what he said to me was, He said, Chris, you're a sharp guy. You've got great hardware, but you've got software issues. And he gave me some audio tapes, and he said, listen to these audio tapes. They'll make a difference. And the audio tapes, among them, it was several of them, but among them was one called Self-Esteem and Peak Performance by Jack Canfield, right? Author of one of the best-selling books of all times. And I started listening to that audio, and that's where everything changed. That was like, wow, okay, there's a different way of living.
Do you remember if when you got that audio, was it the first, was it the whole thing you listened to, or was there one point in that thing where you were like, it clicked?
No, the whole audio was amazing. I mean, it was like everything that he said resonated so deeply within me. It's like, this dissatisfaction is now being soothed. It was like a balm on my, on my soul, really. And he mentioned the book Think and Grow Rich in there. We were talking about that last night. And he talked about how so many millionaires will point to that book as being, the source. And so I got that book, and, the rest is, as they say, history.
Chris, I remember, and I think we were talking about this last night too, you have one of your audio series that you tell the story about working for this personal development company, and there was a bell that you had on your desk. Can you bring us back to that? Because it was one of the funniest stories I've ever heard.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so I'm so terrible at this job, right? And every phone call that I make is a tragedy. It's like I got to work myself up just to pick up the phone and make this phone call. So I'm like, what would motivate me? And there's just me and one other gal in there that are inside salespeople. So I think I should get a bell. I should buy bells and we can have a contest. I'll put a bell on her desk. And so I went to Curtis and I said, hey, Curtis, man, I got a good idea. I think it'll motivate me. He says, what's that? And I go, I'm going to go to like Staples or Office Max. I'm going to buy those bells. You see them at a restaurant or at the diner. Ding, the order's ready, or cheap hotels. And he goes, what are you going to do with bells? I said, well, like if I get a sale, I'll ring it and everybody will be happy. And if she gets a sale, she'll ding it and everybody will be happy. And he looked at me like I was the biggest idiot.
And you hadn't made any sales yet.
No sales at all whatsoever. And so he gives me this look like, you moron. If that's what you need to do to get a sale, then go get your bell, So at lunchtime, I went and I paid. I bought 2 bells. I came back. I explained the rules to my coworker, and she thought it was a great idea. So she's got her bell, and I've got mine. And all of a sudden, ding, she's ringing her bell, and then ding, she's ringing her bell, and ding. And I'm like, God, that was the worst idea ever. Before, nobody knew I was getting my tail kicked. Now everybody knows I'm getting my tail kicked. So I'm scared to make phone calls. So I start playing with my bell, right? I'm like bending over, and I'm trying to see how far down I can push that little, thing before the bell rang. And if you've ever played with a bell, what you know is that once you get past a certain point, there's no turning back, man, right? And he goes, ding, and Curtis and everybody's like, yeah, he did it. And I was like, no, guys, no. And they're like, what? And I go, no, I didn't. They're like, you didn't get a sale? I go, no, I didn't get a sale. They go, but you rang the bell. And I said, no, I'm sorry, you guys. I didn't get a sell. I was playing with my bell. I was just trying to see how far down I could get that thing to go, and it went too far. I'm sorry, man. It's
funny.
Ridiculous.
And for those that don't know Chris now, just somebody that's had a tremendous amount of success. How on earth did you go from
playing with my bell?
With your bell.
Oh gosh. You know what? It's a slight edge. I learned that from you guys. It's a slight edge. It's I believe the cardinal sin in life is to be the same tonight as we were this morning. You know what I mean? I mean, that's it. It's just it's incremental growth over time. Just be better today than you were yesterday. And how can you lose? So it's every day of my life. It's reading a few pages of a good book. It's listening to an audio. I like to go to a seminar every 90 days. It's just about personal growth, be better.
Sure. Benito, we were talking last night about Think and Grow Rich and thoughts are things. Chris, I think that right there covers everything. So,
absolutely.
So maybe, you're somebody now that not only inspires people, but educates. I think there's a difference. And I think a lot of times people outside the personal development industry just think, man, I'm going to one of those seminars to get motivated and stuff. But for you, it's an education process. And what you were saying last night is it all started with that one sentence, thoughts are things. Talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's Think and Grow Rich, and it's the very first sentence in the very first paragraph in the very first page, of the very first chapter. And it says thoughts are things. And when you really understand that a thought is not something idle. It's not just some energetic firing within the body. It's a thing. A thought is a thing. And so if you really understand that whatever we think about truly comes about in our life because it is a thing. And so what I realized, I'm like, okay, well, what things do I have in my house? What things do I have sitting in the driveway? What things do I have, in my world? And I looked around, I'm like, I don't like any of these things. I don't like any of these things. And it's because the reason those things showed up in my life is because that's what I thought about. I thought about poverty. I thought about ill health. I thought about lack mentality. And I thought about not being able to pay my bills. And I thought about bounced checks. That was my reality. And so when I understood that if I change the things I think about, then the things that show up in my life would be different. And that's the world I live in now. And you get it, right, Steve? Look at this house. My gosh, that view. So that was truly the day that turned my life around. To understand that a thought is a thing and that you're creating your life, not some cosmic force. You're totally in control.
Chris, when you're talking about personal development, and I hear you talking about Think and Grow Rich, and the people out there, they're like, okay, I want to get stronger inner self strength to become better, to become more. When you're studying personal development, or when you started studying it, what was it that pushed you, put the gas pedal down and said, I'm diving in completely? What was it, or how did you? What came from within you?
It's starvation. Really, when you're rationing top ramen, no joke, guys. You're breaking half that brick. You're eating half of it for breakfast and half of that MSG powder, for breakfast, and then you have the other half for dinner. And so when I learned that there was a way to change your life, and you didn't need a degree, and you didn't need a diploma, and you didn't need to know any rich people, you didn't need a loan from the bank, that you literally could change your life through understanding certain concepts, philosophies, ideas, strategies, techniques, it was invigorating. It kept me up nights. I had books all the way around my bed, because I was reading a book every 2 or 3 or 4 days.
Wow.
Yeah, because I'm like, I'm going to change my life.
It's massive action.
Yeah, it was massive action. But, it's like John Addison, our friend John, he says when you're in the mud, you don't crawl out, you explode out. Right. And I realize I'm in the mud. I'm 27 years old. I live in the ghetto. I can't crawl out of the ghetto. I need to explode out of the ghetto. So it was a passionate pursuit of personal development and education so that I could make my life better.
And Chris, you use network marketing, and on the 162 experience, network marketing certainly isn't a dirty word.
Absolutely.
We love it. It helped us achieve financial independence, and you guys quickly became known as the Hughes brothers, and we were the Amelia brothers, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, who are these guys? But you brought love and light and fun back into the fundamentals. And I've got my partner Mike here that wanted to talk with you a little bit as well. And it's sort of like old home week. The three of us not only have a lot of memories, but we really built the company that we're with, along with a lot of other people. But if it wasn't for the three of us, not to be overly modest, but the company as it is today wouldn't exist. So we got Mike Mealy in the studio, which is a real treat. Mike happens to be in town. So Mike, any conversation with Chris you'd like to inspire?
Yeah, well, I'm number one, Chris. I've always been impressed with your leadership, and when we first met you, like Steve said, man, who are these guys? It really was like that. And then over time, just over the last few years, as we've gone through some changes and stuff, change can be a tough thing. You and I have really got to know each other through more difficulty. What do you think about stuff like that?
Well, I've got a saying in my life, and if people can adopt this, and I really believe I've adopted it, it makes life so much better. But it's this: it's everything is perfect in the moment that it is, always, no matter what. So even when there's tragedy, even when there's adversity. So, I used to be a person who, when things happened to me that weren't cool, I would say, man, why is this happening to me? Now I say, how is this perfect? Right? How is this perfect? And so it was perfect. You and I became really, really good friends during that time, and I treasure that relationship. And without that adversity, maybe that would have never happened.
That's for sure. Because the adversity brought us together, and we worked on it together and such. And then the other thing that was always so impressive to me, and still is, even what you're just saying now, is how you manage to stay optimistic when the going is tough, when the chips are down.
Well, I see adversity as a trick. It's just a trick, right? So most people look at adversity and go, oh my gosh, my sky is falling, and they create more of that, right? So when I see it, I go, nah, this is a trick. This is a trick. This is to change my thought pattern so that I think about these adversities so that this happens more and more and more in my life. And I go, This too shall pass, right? It's all good. It's just a trick.
That's basically taking anything negative, or what I'm trying to listen to. What you're saying is it's just a almost like a fake reality you're creating, but it's truth.
Well, it says it right in Think and Grow Rich. With every how do they word it, Chris? With every seed of
every adversity and temporary defeat are the seeds of a greater equivalent benefit. You know?
can tell this guy's done some personal development. Chris, let's go back to your childhood, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Not to get too therapeutic with you.
Can I suck my thumb?
Yes.
Give myself solace.
You're the youngest child.
I'm the youngest boy. We
Okay.
didn't get to that last night. 5 boys and a little girl.
5 boys, little girl.
Yeah.
And here you are at 27. It's so interesting because today at 27, most of the kids live at home.
Still, yep.
They don't even think there's anything wrong with them if they're not successful yet. But you, even though on the outside world you were like, man, things are not going well, you proved to somebody in a very short amount of time that you can turn things around.
Yeah.
As a youngster, was there anything that you think molded you, whether it was the way that you were brought up or values that were instilled in you, anything like that you can say has led you to the man and the leader that you are today?
Well, thank you for that, Steve. And I can tell you a couple things. First of all, my parents weren't around as a kid. My dad was a workaholic, and my mom, had some challenges, and so there was nobody ever home. So that forced all of the Hughes kids to become fiercely independent. And I'm independent to a fault. You know what I mean? Like, that's when some people give me my list of liabilities, that's on the list, that I'm just wildly independent. But the other thing is, I'll give you a couple stories. My dad read a book when he was younger called Psycho-Cybernetics, right? And it was, I believe, the only personal development book he ever read. But that shaped him. And so one day I asked my dad this question. You were talking about the moon, right? I said to my dad, as a kid, Dad, do you think that it's possible for humans to like live on the moon? Not just go to the moon, but like live there and have communities and neighborhoods. And without any hesitation at all, he said, oh yeah, for sure. And I was shocked by that. And I said, Dad, how can you be so sure? And he said, because you thought of it.
Wow.
Right? So that, and he used to quote also that what the mind of man can conceive and believe, he can achieve. And you can do anything you set your mind to, son. And there was 4 or 5 little messages like that just, really set me free. And so then many years of poverty. I mean, I lived below the poverty level for the better part of a decade. And then when I get into personal development, I was like, oh my gosh, this is that stuff, that my dad used to say. So my dad was very instrumental in, what's happening in my life today.
What's the coolest part of your lifestyle now? You have freedom.
I don't have a job. I haven't had a job in 16 years, and I've got 4 kids, and I'm their dad. I mean, that's the coolest part, is that I've taken them on cruises, taken them around the world. And one of the things I'm doing, Steve, right now is I spend time in a studio. We're in a studio right now, and what I'm doing is I'm recording my favorite books that have changed my life. And I'm speaking to my children and to their children and to their children and to their children, and talking about how these principles, these truths, these concepts and philosophies changed my life. This is one of my favorite books in the world, and I'm going to read it to you, right? So, I mean, I have the freedom to do those things. And when you get money out of the way, and I'm a baby with money, right? I mean, I'm just figuring this stuff out. I'm way down low on the scale. But when money's out of the way, you think about different stuff. Right? You think about legacy. You think about how you can make a real difference in life. So I really feel blessed by that.
Mike Mealy again. Chris.
Hi, Mike.
I guess you guys can tell us.
How's it going, Mike?
Well, anyway,
laugh for proof.
I'll laugh. But here's a question. Just, from that time that you said, okay, I'm going to turn my life around. I mean, because a lot of people, when they look at something like that, it looks so uphill, it looks so long and far, that they lose hope before they even start, right? Talking about our dad, I remember one time working on a science project and really being behind it. And he says, listen, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. And I didn't know he was quoting Confucius, but I learned that later. But, when so many people don't embark because it just seems like it's too high, it's too far. Chronologically, how long did it take you from the time you said, okay, this is too much, I'm turning it around, I'm going to do something about it, till you look back and said, I've at least accomplished, I'm at least part of the way, I'm out of the woods?
A year. I mean,
Only a year.
Yeah, a year. I mean, I was averaging, if you look at my Social Security reports before all this started, I was averaging $6,000 to $7,000 a year. Now, that was with taxes, so it was probably more than that. I can't remember what I was claiming or how that worked, but somewhere between $6,000 and $12,000 a year is what I was earning. So I find personal development, the awesome power of personal development, this idea of reading good books, going to seminars, listening to audios, educating yourself. I find that for about a year, and then I find network marketing, and I see the Amelia brothers, and you guys are crushing it, right? And so you're making all this money. I thought, well, if you can do it, I can do it. And so that 1 year after personal development, I started reading, I made $21,000. Well, to some people, that's not much money. To me, I was rich. It was the most money I'd ever made in my life, 21 grand. Next year, I made $44,000. Next year, $144,000. So got into not only a six-figure income, but six-figure passive income. But, Jim Rohn, he's all of our mentors, right? Jim Rohn taught that you can go from where you are to where you want to be in any 6 years, 18 to 24, 24 to 30, 60 to 66. It doesn't matter. But you don't have to wait a full 6 years to see change. You can see remarkable change in a year if you're willing to pay the price.
Chris, so if somebody was doing their transformation, personal development, going at it strong, going at it heavy, what advice would you give them? Like if they're starting their network marketing career, what advice would you give them, and what direction would you point them to?
Well, I would say if they're starting a network marketing career, starting a marriage or starting a business or starting in a new job, Jim Rohn said it best, work harder on yourself than you do on anything else. Everybody wants to go to work on their spouse. Don't go to work on your spouse. Go to work on yourself. Everybody wants to go to work on their boss. Don't go to work on your boss. Go to work on yourself. We want to go to work on the president. Yeah, when we get the Republicans in there, when we get the Democrats. No, just go to work on yourself. Go ahead, Steve.
And sorry to interrupt. Just the first thing that you said there, and Benito sort of led in with it, but you used the word career. Just by the fact that you're defining it right up front as a career, says a lot about that. My question is, I know Mike and I were, and I can tell by listening, you can hear when somebody speaks, you're very intentional about the words that you choose to define things or define a situation. You're not somebody that uses the word problem a lot. You would use the word challenge or situation instead, unless somebody's dying. It's not a problem. If you can write a check for it, it's not a problem.
Right.
So to talk about how intentional you are with your thoughts and your words that you're expressing out in the universe and how you came to that.
So how weird can I get right now?
Yeah, be weird.
Well, here's the thing. I believe we're broadcasting stations, every one of us, and we're broadcasting 24/7. And we don't get the choice to broadcast or not broadcast. All we get the choice to do is what we broadcast, right? So I believe that thoughts have creative power. I believe that words have creative power. I believe that our emotions have creative power. And so the things that we think about, the things we speak about, and the things we feel about, it's got to be purposeful. I believe you can live your life by design, you design it, or you can live your life by default. And we know most people live their life by default. So if you want to live your life by design, then your thoughts are designed. Your feelings are designed. Your words are designed. You can't let that stuff happen by happenstance. So yeah, I'm very purposeful. You were talking about meditating this morning. That's a daily practice for me. I want to get still. And it's so incredible. For years I wore a rubber band on my wrist. And the reason why I did that, say again? Well,
I did that because of your brothers. Your brothers, when they first moved to San Diego, they had rubber bands on their wrist. And I was like, hey, what's that about? And they said every time we think a negative thought or complain or do anything, we snap it. Yep. And for years, we had our whole team doing that. So thanks to you guys.
It's remarkable because, you don't realize, we're all positive guys in here, right? You don't realize how negative you're being until you see that rubber band. And throughout the day when I used to wear a watch, I had a little thing written on there with a Sharpie just to ask myself the question, what are you thinking about right now? And it's like, wow, that was negative. Pop! I'd pop myself kind of negative reinforcement, pop myself in the wrist. But so, yeah, it's hard, It's why so few people succeed. It's not they can't succeed. They won't succeed because, what's the word? Disciplining your thoughts and your emotions and your words, that's not easy. But if you master that, you've mastered a major part of success.
There's people listening going, yeah, but you guys are successful. If I was successful, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
Sure. You guys, you're making money and you guys drive nice cars and you vacation. Yeah, I'd be positive too. Talk to them.
Well, it's the old Jim Rohn thing. You can't go in front of the fireplace that's empty and say, give me heat. Fireplace says, no, that's crazy. Give me wood and I'll give you heat. If you want happiness, whether you're rich or poor, you got to do the things that bring you happiness first. And it's like people say, well, yeah, you've got all this money, so of course you read a lot of books. Of course you've got a library now that you've got all this money. It's like, no, the books came first. Some of the books that I read in the early days, I read in Barnes & Noble in one of those overstuffed chairs because I couldn't afford to buy the book. So you just sit in Barnes & Noble and read it. And you do that 2 or 3 weeks in a row and you're able to buy the book. Right? Pretty cool.
Chris, you're talking about the tools that people can have to gain more on their journey. You mentioned a little bit about your habits, what you do in the morning, what rituals you do. What are some of the things that people can actually do every day to see steps of success?
I think one of the most important things we can do is be in gratitude every day for what we have already. It's like some people go, oh, my life's so bad. No, it's not. You've got good health. You've got a friend. Do you have one friend? Then your life's not that bad. Do you have anybody who loves you anywhere in this whole world? Then your life's not that bad. Wait, do you have a shower? We all have so much, especially here in America, right? In North America. Come on. If you can't find something to be grateful for, and that was the thing. I had to look around and go, you know what? I don't have the car I want, but I have an 88 Honda Accord. I should be thankful for my 88 Honda Accord. I have a shirt to put on my back when I get out of the shower. I should be thankful for that. And so I try to spend time every day expressing gratitude for all that I have and for all that I have not yet. Right? So there's an expression, an energetic expression of gratitude for even the things that have not yet manifested in my world, but I know that they're here.
Chris, one of the things that I really respect about you and I admire about you is that you know that there are certain laws in the universe that just are.
Right.
And then you sort of work your life around that because you're so confident that those laws are true. Maybe just pick one or two or a few of your favorite. What do you know, if you had to say, I know this is true, the law of, whether it be the law of attraction or the law of sowing and reaping or just the law of planting, anything like that, speak to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, let's talk about a law that we all know and we all believe in, which is gravity. Right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have the mental capacity to understand gravity or not. If you violate the law of gravity, you're going to feel it. Yeah. Right? So if there's a 50-story building and we walk off the top of it, you can be oblivious to the law of gravity and you will be affected by it, right? You won't be around anymore. So this is the great tragedy actually in life, is that there are laws of the universe and we're all being affected by them, whether you know them or not. And if you know them, you can harness them to give you what you want. If you don't know them, it's like you falling off a 50-story building. So one of the things that you talk about the law of attraction, and it's almost like today, because of the movie The Secret, and it almost got played out, but I refuse to let, the fact that it became popular, I'm not going to hide from the fact. I believe that we are co-creators in our lives, and I believe that we attract that which we are. And if we don't like what we have, we don't blame, we change who we are. It's like we just look, here's what's manifested. I don't like it. Who do I blame? Me. I take full responsibility. So yeah, I believe wholeheartedly that we attract that which we are. Not what we want, but that which we are.
Powerful. How about the law of association? Maybe take your top 5 associations, and you don't have to do them by name, but you're 27, you're broke as a joke, you're living in the ghetto. Take your 5 associations there, and then maybe fast forward to, the year you started making multiple 6 figures. How did your associations change, or did you change your associations?
Oh my gosh. That was very purposeful. I used to hang out with people who talked about, just stereo speakers. And hot boxing, smoking out and, fighting, beating people up. And when I got into personal development and started understanding the law of association, that we become a combined total of the 5 people we spend the most time with, I thought, oh my gosh, no wonder my life is the way it is. Look at these people I'm hanging out with. So I did surgery on my associations. I literally let those people go. And it's interesting because when you try to crawl out of the bucket, it's like a crab in a bucket. I've never seen this, but I hear that if a crab tries to get out, that the other crabs will pull them down. So I got out of that neighborhood. I left those people, and some of them say, oh, he got too big for his britches. And it's like, no, you're just negative. You're caustic, you're toxic. I can't, I don't want to be around you anymore. So today, one of the best pieces of advice that I got was to always be the low guy on the totem pole. You know what I mean? So find people that are so much more successful than you that you're like the little guy. That way there's that upward motion, all you can go is up. And so these associations are powerful. And I mean, it's being here with you guys is an honor for me because there's that upward pull, right? So the associations today, it's like, we talk about how can we make the world better? I was talking to a guy last night that's collecting money for a $30 million investment, and we were talking about how much more he needs and where the investment is and what we're going to do. I mean, it's pretty cool, man, how life is.
How close was he to his 30?
He's 15.
Okay. Hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah, he's 15 million in.
That's awesome.
So,
let's talk about network marketing. I know we got a lot of our audience are people that are in network marketing, and it's just the nature of the beast goes. All of us or most of us have not achieved what we want to. A lot of people would even define their journey as struggling or frustrated or, so let's talk about what does it take, first of all. First question is, what does it take for a company or an organization to be in momentum? What are some of the key factors that need to be in place to have momentum? Because that's what we all want.
Yeah, absolutely. Simplicity, fun, money, instant gratification, recognition, personal development, leadership. Did I say vision? I think that you need the tools in place to make it happen. You need duplication. You've got to have a business model that replicates and duplicates easily so that when people get in, they can go up the ladder quickly. Their friends and family see that. They're inspired by it. They join. Their friends and family see that. They're inspired by it. They join. So I think more than anything, it's environment. It's environment and leadership and simplicity and fun. And
Quitters never win and winners never quit. Chris, we were talking last night specifically when our company went through a dip in the road. We were under new management. We were bought. And so many of the people that had their first success, people that are making a couple $100,000 a year, some of them left to go find prosperity elsewhere. But people that were a little bit, which you referred to last night as old money, or people that had maybe more of a foundation, deeper roots, maybe talk about that.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. We have seasons in the world to teach us that that's the way life works, right? When you go to the ocean, the water doesn't just stay there. The tide comes in and the tide goes out. So when things change in life and when the tide goes out, we can't go, what? What is going on? This is not the way it's supposed to be. No, it is the way it's supposed to be. Everything is cyclical. People are born, people die. People, you're in, the tide goes in, the tide goes out. So yeah, it was in anything, in any marriage, in any situation, you're going to have the tide go out and the tide come in. So some people didn't have enough experience in life to understand all this is the tide going out. You know what I mean? Hang out, find ways to provide value, work on yourself. Hopefully you've made good decisions. You've saved some money, right, for the winter time. And again, it all comes down to philosophy and personal development. Anytime I've been in a bad time in my life, I'll say to myself, it's just the winter, right? The spring follows the winter every single time. The sun follows, light follows darkness every day, every single day. So if it's dark right now, just hang out, man.
What's Jim Rohn say? He said when the sun starts going down, the guy's like, what's going on here? He hasn't been around long.
Right. What's happening to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Cool. This is going good so far. Benito is in the studio with us today. Benito and I have really just been preparing for you coming a lot, just doing as much, following your career and looking around. Benito, you have any more questions for Chris?
Yeah, I got one for you, Chris. You were talking about providing value to your audience, to your whoever you're speaking to. One of the things, you're a huge leader in personal development, huge leader in network marketing. When you get up on stage, what is it if somebody was like, I really want to be a public speaker, I really want to get in front of my audience or talk to the people and inspire them. what would you tell them? What advice would you say? This is how you become a great speaker. This is the value you have to bring. What is it that you should tell them that they should take and listen to you?
It's great. I mean, and I'm still, I'm climbing the ladder. You know what I mean?
Well, you're being very humble. You're one of the best. I mean, just from the minute that your energy, I mean, you're good. You're very good, and we can all learn from you. So
thanks, Steve.
You can put your humbleness pie to the side. Humble pie. And,
well.
Really.
Thank you. The first thing I'd say is you've got to have value within yourself. You can't get on stage and be an empty can. You can't lead a team when you've got nothing in you. You know what I mean? And this is why the struggle is so valuable, because that's where your character is developed. When things aren't easy for you, nobody learns anything when they're winning. Right? It's like, we won. When you lose, you got to go into the locker room and look yourself in the mirror and go, what happened? Like, what's going on? Where am I deficient? What do I got to do to be better? How can we win this thing? So, so I would say, first of all, don't be an empty can. You've got to find the lessons and read the books. And I mean, I've read autobiographies by 50 Cent, right? I mean, you got to read, I read 50 Cent because I don't know what it's like to be an African-American, raised in the hood who's got to sell crack to make a living. You know what I mean? It's important for me to understand that dynamic of this world, to have compassion and empathy for that reality. I've read the Quran. I'm not a Muslim, but it's important for me to understand 1.6 billion of my brothers and sisters. I have read a book by Hitler and Gandhi. I've read books by slave masters, and I've read books by slaves. So, and you don't have to do this today, right? It's just over time you expand your consciousness and your awareness so that you're not an empty can and you're not an arrogant jerk saying something stupid and talking down to people and all that stuff. So that's first and foremost. Secondly, you got to master your craft. So you got to study leadership and study speaking. I mean, if we're just talking about speaking right now, I studied the best in the world. I mean, Mike and Steve, you guys were in the People's Network, and you got the best in the world and you had them all the time. And so it's incredible today. I mean, back in the day, you really had to search for this stuff. It's like you had to pay $400 for the video weekend, the Jim Rohn weekend, the Brian Tracy, all this stuff. Today, it's all on YouTube. So you turn it on and you can study the greats live on stage, see what they do with their face, see what they do with their hands, how they're connecting and communicating with the people. So like anything, I mean, we were talking about those real estate, Chris and the real estate guys that were here.
Yeah, Chief, yep.
They didn't become successful in real estate because they wanted to become successful in real estate. They became successful in real estate because they became students. They mastered their craft. So whether it be speaking, network marketing, sales, relationships, figure out what you want to do, become a student, be humble, learn from the best of the best, and then begin to implement it to the best of your ability over time.
Amazing. I love that answer. I just got one more question, then we can probably turn it over to Mike real quick. If you could share the stage with anyone, present, past, whatever, who would it be?
Are they alive or dead?
Yeah, alive or dead.
Yeah, I'd want to bring back Wayne Dyer and Jim Rohn.
Oh, powerful.
Yeah, I'd want to bring back Wayne Dyer, and I want the three of us on stage, doing our thing, going back and forth.
Did you ever have a chance to meet Jim?
Yeah, I've got pictures with Jim, and I've got a nice note from him. He wrote me a note and, told me congratulations.
That's cool. He was a strange guy in person, fair?
Yes. Yeah.
A lot of people are like that. Introvert.
Yep.
Do you consider yourself more of an introvert or extrovert?
Absolutely. I'm an introvert.
Me too. It's weird.
Yeah.
People wouldn't suspect it from either one of us.
Yep.
But I'm a guy at a party, unless I know people there.
Yeah.
I'm the one quiet. In fact, Benito, where Benito works, a lot of the girls, Benito manages the Tilted Kilt downtown San Diego, if you ever want to stop in and see him. But the girls can't believe that I'm a speaker and I'm a comedian. They're like, the guy never even talks.
Right. Well, in our business, we prospect, right? And when I get on a plane, don't talk to me. I mean, I'm like, I sit there. I don't talk to the person anywhere.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, I'm totally content at home by myself reading a book or holding my babies.
Now, you alluded to this in terms of your gaining value. So you can be a speaker, you can be a leader, in that you're a student. Now, I pretty much know the answer to this, but I heard you speak last week, and you really touched that part of myself, part of me, that recognizes that you never stop being a student. Could you speak to that?
Yeah, it's like, at what point are you done, right? I mean, Jim Rohn asked the question, and obviously we've all been blessed by his philosophy, but he asked the question, if you can get better, should you? I mean, just let that set on you for a minute. If you can get better, should you? And I know we all agree. Of course. If you can give more, serve more, share more, be more, should you? Yes. So, we talked about how tall does a tree grow? As tall as it can. You ever heard of a 3-foot full-grown oak tree? It doesn't happen. But humans, we stop growing. We stop reading. We stop learning.
Over this past weekend, I heard you speak. Steve was with us, and so was Benito, and you spoke to that. And I will tell you that, in spite of the fact that I consider myself a lifelong student, I took some time to reflect on the ways in which I wasn't growing, and it really helped me a lot. So I thank you.
That's awesome, man. And you know what? I ask myself the question all the time, and it's not just. Here's the thing. I think this is a good distinction, maybe something good to talk about, especially for our audience in personal development. But the question is, I think a lot of people get up and they go, "Okay, I got to read my good books. I got to read a few pages of a good book." For me, I like to ask myself daily, am I passionate about this? You know what I mean? Am I passionately pursuing betterment? Am I going after my day with enthusiasm? Earlier, Steve was bouncing around in here. He's doing a conference call, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Have that energy and zest for life. I think if we want passion and we want excitement and enthusiasm, then that's how we have to be about our growth. We've got to be passionate and excited and enthusiastic about our growth activities every day.
Chris, our sound guy, Robert. Robert's in the studio with us, and before he came over today, he wanted me to ask you a question. So this is a question from Robert. He said he read somewhere on a post on Facebook, he believes that you have a plan to live to 111 years old. Is that accurate, first of all?
That's true. Okay. In good health.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
111 or older.
Okay. Any tips?
Well, first and foremost, mind over matter, right? So I'm not going to put that intention out when I'm, let me rephrase that because words are powerful, right? Most people might put that intention out when they're ill. I don't want to do that. So I put that intention out because I'm healthy, as I am healthy. And I am living to 111 in good health, at least 111. So tips: take care of your body, take care of your mind. Most people expect to get older, fatter, slower. Well, I'm slowing down. I don't intend to do that. I intend to be better with age, like wine.
Chris, that's great.
Yeah,
you're a fine wine in our
I'm
book.
I'm a fine wine.
You're a good year.
I hope to be.
3 personal goals that you have yet to accomplish that you want to accomplish?
On the very near future, I've never made $1 million a year. So that's on the list for the very near future. $1 million a year, and
so you shall.
Yes, I am earning $1 million. I am so happy and grateful now that I am earning $1 million a year, and that's going to be my minimum wage, by the way. So that's
a good minimum wage.
Right,
I could see people striking in front of McDonald's.
Right.
Minimum wage.
Forget about what are they doing? $15 an hour or whatever. But I love what Jim Rohn says. $15 an hour is already on the ladder. Why are you striking? Just go get the $15. It's already on the ladder.
It's a ladder, not a bed.
Not a bed. So that's first and foremost. I've got a best-selling book out there about something tragic that happened in my life. My best friend was murdered. I didn't intend for that to be a best-selling book, but, we wrote it, and the world was following this trial. It was a high-profile trial. So, but I have an intention I am so happy and grateful now that I'm a best-selling author of a personal development book. I'm working on one. It's called You Can. It's called You Can, Your Choice. Nice. The art and science of getting whatever you want, everything you want. I am so happy and grateful now that I am doing a PBS special, with that book and, kind of the telethon and raising money for public broadcasting.
Could we be in the green room for that?
Yeah, come on, man. We'll party. The Amelia Bros and the Hughes Bros, man. We'll have a party.
That's great. Well, we have a few minutes left, and, we talked about the topic, and you just brought it up about your great friend, Travis Alexander. And in the remaining few minutes that we have, and it's a heavy topic.
Yeah.
And, it's, I can't even imagine. I have a few friends in my life that are probably in the same vicinity, just best friends, people that just you did everything with. The reason you look forward to going to Cancun and the vacations because of this one individual. Talk about the objective of you writing this book about Travis and what he meant to you, and anything you'd like to say about Travis. He was an amazing guy.
Yeah, amazing guy. And a little bit of backdrop. He was killed back in 2008. Oh my gosh, time flies. He was my best friend, my buddy, one of the best friends I've ever had in my whole life, and his ex-girlfriend killed him, and it became the high-profile case of 2013. It was the Jodi Arias murder trial. And so, I don't really want to focus a lot on that, but who was Travis? We wrote the book because in the courtroom, of course, anything goes. It was a death penalty case. It was a high-profile case. It was televised on television every single day. So they were doing everything that they could to save her life, to keep her off death row. And that included calling my buddy a child molester, calling him a wife beater, saying that he was a terrible human being, and da-da-da-da-da. And, they had 5 years as they prepped for this case, or whatever the math is, maybe longer than that. And they could not find one man, one woman, or one child that Travis Alexander was even mean to. You know what I mean? I mean, that's pretty crazy. So obviously this guy's an upstanding guy. They had 5 years to find dirt on him, and they couldn't find the dirt on him. But just a cool guy. So here's a guy that was raised in the ghetto. Mom and dad are crackhead drug addicts. They're beating him up, highly abusive, raises himself out of that through personal development, through network marketing, gets to about a 6-figure a year income. He's driving a BMW. He's got custom-made suits. He's 4,000 square foot home in Phoenix. He's just living the life. But cool guy. I mean, this is a guy that when he walks in your house, he starts doing high kicks, and he's singing Barry Manilow songs. You know what I mean? He's just an outrageously funny guy. But when he's alone, when you don't know what he's doing, he's out delivering water bottles and bags of food and treats to homeless people. You know what I mean? He does that without any fanfare, just something that he loves to do. So I'd keep you here all day on, how cool this guy was. One of the funniest guys I've ever, known. You ask him a question, he's like, "Word to Big Bird, you big nerd." He had all these, is a 10-pound Robin fat? Is the Pope Catholic? He had all these cool little things that he would say. But I wrote the book to defend his good name. I thought, you know what? He's dead. He's gone. He can't defend himself. He can't talk for himself. And he would have done it for me. So if the roles were reversed and my character's under attack and they're calling me those crazy things on national television, Travis Alexander would have stood up and went to war for me. So
he sure would have.
Yeah.
Talk about the process of writing that book. I know when I wrote my book, I had to relive my baseball season. You're remembering, every meeting you had with people and every game. And I would go back because you want to be accurate and put as much research into it. And after reading the book about Travis, that was a lot of work, a lot of time and energy. Yeah. Very, very detailed. How tough was that process years later to almost relive everything?
It was tough. And I mean, fortunately, we had enough time for a little bit of healing to take place. You know what I mean? But it was, it took 2 years to write the book. I mean, it was a long process. But, there's times when you're writing, you just start crying and you have to stop. Because you hit a nerve and it's like, gosh, it's like, this is real. It's not a joke. He's gone. Like, this is a tragedy. He was not only killed, he was murdered in a barbaric fashion. And it was tough. But the cool thing is, if anybody reads the book, I mean, it is really heavy. I never intended it to be a bestseller. It was just, look, if you got trash to talk about my buddy, you need to read this book because this is the truth, But it launched on Amazon as #1 and stayed #1 for a while. But
the story mesmerized America. I mean, I've never seen since the O.J. Simpson. I can't remember another trial that got more play than that. Why do you think that was?
I think it was that you had the religion thing. He's a Mormon guy. He's a motivational speaker. He's this up and coming entrepreneur success story. She was blonde and kind of vivacious and. It was sex, lies, and videotape. I mean, really, it was everything that Hollywood loves, and there was so much drama. And it really is weird. I've had that question so many times. People go, why this case? I mean, it went longer than the O.J. Simpson trial. It was way bigger than the Casey Anthony trial. I mean, it was a big deal. But I think it just had all those dynamics that unfortunately, people like to.
There were some strange characters in it, too. Gus Searcy, huh? That was weird.
Yeah.
Talk about a bad name for Legal Shield for a minute. How about when they asked him on the trial if he had a lawyer to talk to? And this guy's like doing a commercial for Legal Shield while he's on the stand, unlimited access, blah, blah, blah. And then they say, "Sir, do you have a lawyer?" And he's like, "Ba, ba, 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 ba."
Not at this hour.
Yeah, not at this hour.
Not at
and it wasn't even 5, right?
Yeah, but with love, right? With love.
I guess. This is our chance to
I'm not touching that.
Shove him back. All right. Well, one more question just on the topic. How surreal was that whole experience for you, just as far as, you're on Dr. Drew. I'm one of those guys where at the time I wasn't. Once I started having some success, I never even had a TV in my house.
Right.
But for that case, just because I knew everybody, every night I'm watching Nancy Grace and Dr. Drew. And what was that like for you you're on national TV, and even recently you've been on Dr. Phil.
Yeah.
But to talk about something like so outside of what you would normally talk about, what was that like?
Well, surreal's the word. I mean, it's so weird. Like somebody said to me at the seminar the other day, I didn't know you had a best-selling book. I can't wait to read it. Is it on Amazon? I'm like, skip this one. Skip don't read that one, because it's not a personal development book. Although the last chapter is personal development. It's all about Travis was this, but he changed his life through personal development. Here's some concepts and techniques that you can apply right now. But it was crazy. I mean, we had all the big names on Fox were calling, all the big names on CNN were calling, and we did a lot of those talk shows and stuff. But again, and we took some arrows, because people go, oh, they want their 15 minutes of fame. It's like, no, my homeboy, my buddy, my best friend got slaughtered, and now they're calling him a child molester. What am I supposed to do? Sit at home? No. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let him go out like that. So, yeah, it was very surreal. But, I mean, I had shield in one hand and sword in the other. I was doing battle for my body. That's what it was all about.
Yeah, I mean, I really respect what you did. I know when that trial was going on, it really was like, the draw to watch it was so strong. But at one point, I just had to say, that's it. I can't watch anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I just had to. It's like, man.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, Chris Hughes, if everybody in the world could have a friend like you, just one friend like you, the world would certainly be a better place. So thank you. Thanks for telling that story. I know that, originally we wrestled with whether we would talk about it because it is a heavy topic, but it's something that unfortunately hasn't necessarily defined you, but was certainly a big part of your life.
Yeah.
For the last few years. So we'll turn that off, and then we'll turn on our positivity broadcast station again. And Chris, this is a question that Benito and I have been asking all of our guests. And what advice would you give yourself at age 18? So you're 18 years old, knowing what you know now with your years of experience. What advice you're sitting down with yourself, what advice would you give yourself?
It would be to learn everything that I know now that I've been learning starting at 27. If I could get it at 18, if I could get it at 18, tell you a cute story as we wrap up. My dad and I are talking one day and he was in his late 60s, early 70s. And he said to me, son, I'm so glad that you got this information when you did. And in other words, what he was saying was, I'm too old to be affected by all of this, but you're a young man, and I'm so glad that you got it when you did. And I just smiled at my dad, and I said, Dad, I'm so glad that you got this information when you did. You're still so young. You're only in your 60s, So I wish I could go back and give myself all of this wisdom, all of this information that I've acquired over the years and continue to acquire on a daily basis. We can't go back. So we must go forward. So it all starts with what are we going to do now, right here and now, to make ourselves better and make the world better.
Cool. And just in closing, Chris, anything that you want to plug if somebody wanted to work with you? I know that you've traveled all over the world, got some funny stories associated with that as well. If somebody wanted to hire you to speak to their company or as a personal coach or read one of your books or your audio series, how can they find out more about Chris Hughes?
Yeah, just go to cshughes.com. And anybody that joins the email list will get 3 of my favorite ebooks for free. Think and Grow Rich, As a Man Thinketh, You Were Born Rich, and there's one other one in there. But they get those ebooks for free. And then every week, for 52 weeks, for a year, they'll get a 1-minute mini motivational audio from me. It's called the 1 Minute Mentoring.
Wow.
And so they'll get that totally for free. And then anything I'm doing, they're in the database, so they'll get an email from me. And my books are there. And I recently realized that the website had a little glitch. So, about 150 of my articles that I've written are no longer there, but we'll get them up there soon. But yeah, cshughes.com.
Benito, you want to say goodbye to Chris?
Chris, it was great having you on the show. We appreciate it. I learned a lot. I know I learned a ton of stuff today. I really do appreciate it. We are going to wrap it up here in just a little bit. We're going to have this episode up on 162 Experience, our fan page, and YouTube in a little while. So, Chris, I do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Chris, will you
man.
come back?
I'll come back, man. Let's do it.
Awesome.
Let's do it. I'll come back between now and my PBS special.
All right. Hey, thanks for your friendship, your leadership, and thanks for being a guest on the 162 Experience.
You too, Steve. I appreciate you very much, man.
That's a wrap.